Sankofa and blockchain. Is blockchain innovation or a familiar concept dressed in new technology? Here to address emerging technologies around the world, introducing Queen Diambi Kabatusuila of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Hello everyone, hello. How are you? Hello everyone. I am very honored and pleased to be here with you today, this afternoon. And I'm very honored to have been invited to this summit. I believe maybe some of you might say, what is a traditional African queen, coming to do in a summit with talking about blockchain? Maybe some of you are even saying, what, an African queen? We didn't know that there was still such thing, or they were even such thing. Well, we are still there. So maybe I will give you a little background of why am I Queen Diambi of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And as of the month of March, I'm also Queen of the Afro-descendant of Brazil. They have reinstated a throne, a traditional throne in Brazil, and they crowned me as the queen in Brazil. So that was also ratified at the parliament in Brazil. So Africa, before the Africa we know today, that's fairly recent because the way Africa is today was actually done in the Berlin Conference between 1884 and 1885. So the European powers decided to basically cut up Africa in pieces and decided to spread, to just share each other, the land, and then how they would exploit the land after, of course, the long period of almost 3 centuries of transatlantic human trafficking that went on, as we already know about that story. But very few people ask themselves, what were there in Africa before? So, well, what was there was some of my kingdom, and also other kingdoms in Africa. So my kingdom is located in central Kasai, and in central Kasai is in central of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I inherited the throne from my great-grandfather, the King Chiyoyomwata. And normally my father was supposed to be the next on the throne, and he didn't accept it because he didn't find any value into traditions. However, I accepted the throne, and here I am now talking about traditions and talking about Africa a lot. And because I feel like we have to start talking about a history of humanity in another way, because I think that Africa has been left out of the historical narrative of the planet, as if there was just a big void in Africa for thousands and thousands of years, and then here we go. After the period of human trafficking, we are now catapulted into colonization, and now we are just lingering behind everyone trying to so-called developed. Well, it's not really the real situation on the ground. The real situation on the ground was that when Europe was actually struggling during the Dark Ages, the African continent was really flourishing with amazing achievements in so many different domains, including education, with several university centers in Africa in the between the 10th, 11th century and all the way to the 14th centuries before the arrival of the Westerners, who then came to colonize a couple of centuries later. So we had many achievements that I never talked about, especially in the domain of mathematics and science and all kinds of things like philosophy. A lot of the achievements that Africa has contributed to humanity are usually passed under silence. And this is why it's very interesting for me to come and speak to a public like you, because you basically, I look at you as hanging out with my future, because from what I hear, everybody here is in the high-tech industry and the future, the blockchain and all that stuff. And it's important that if I hang out with the future, and I'm kind of like representative of the past in so many ways, it's important that we have a conversation, that the future and the past have a conversation. Hence, the name of my presentation, Sankofa and blockchain. Sankofa is a Twi language word which comes from Ghana, and it basically means it's a good thing to go back to get what we have forgotten. And the reason why I'm here talking to a summit like this one is because I met a fantastic person who is here, matter of fact. It's Yorkie Rhodes. I don't see him Oh, he's right there. I met Yorkie in Davos because I try to, go to many different places where the fate of the world is being decided, and oftentimes without my people having a say. So I try to show myself up and say, listen, we have to start having that conversation. My people matters, and then I want to know what's going on, and also I want to contribute to what's going on. And we were talking around the table after, a morning of skiing. I don't ski, but I just learned a couple of, steps. And we were trying to explain to someone what was blockchain. And of course, I'm not a techie, I'm not a nerd in all this field, although, to my credit, I used to be a programmer myself a long time ago. If you know the language COBOL, if you know BASIC, if you know language machine, if you know Pascal, those are languages that I used to be proficient back in the days. But I won't insist. That was just my experience in computer. Thank you, thank you. So I do have an understanding a little bit, but of course my knowledge is completely absolute now. So we were trying to explain, or I saw Yorkie trying to explain to somebody who was a novice about blockchain and say, blockchain is this, blockchain is that, and the guy was just like, what? No, I don't get it. And then I said, but wait a minute, let me explain what blockchain is. Okay, well, blockchain is now called blockchain, but in Africa, it was really the system used consistently throughout the continent for to ensure the validity and the integrity of information. Of course, we didn't have the technology that now we have with the computers and things like that, but the principle in itself was exactly the same. It was to make sure that information was common property to the entire community so that we couldn't tamper with the information, and also we could have a guarantee that the information was valid, and that any little change in information had to be validated by all parties. Because Africa, we are communal people. We are very much geared into organizing community. So let's say, I'll give an example, very simple example. This man is named Kalala, and Kalala has a little boy. And the little boy's name is Putu. So everybody in the village will know, okay, guys, we're gonna do the naming ceremony. Kalala here just had a baby, and the baby's name is Putu. So this kid, Putu, is the son of Kalala, and Kalala is the son of Chilembi. Okay, everybody is informed. And then there will be people in charge to go inform the other villages in the circumscription. So everyone in the community, or at least in the clan, if not the tribe, will have the same exact information. And then later on in life, a child could show himself up somewhere and say, well, I'm Putu. And they say, oh, wait, which Putu are you? Oh, well, I'm Putu, the son of Kalala, who's the son of Chilembi. So when I look at this, it's kind of like blockchain and the way you organize information in blocks, and they are all attached to each other. And as they are updated with the information, the code is generated, and then the information is updated, but it's updated everywhere at the same time. So it's kind of like when I explain, with the simple example, what it was about, the gentleman was like, oh my God, I understand everything now. And this is on the principle. Of course, on the technicality is a little bit more complex, and I wouldn't dare, take even the chance to try to begin explaining anything on that technical level. However, the principle is very simple. So many people who are going to be using the technology or benefiting from the technology, they're just hearing this word as if it was a word coming from space, and it's like a completely alien concept to them. But yet again, Africa has been using this simple concept of making sure that information kept its integrity and validity, and also that any change was validated by the entire community. So here we are, centuries and centuries later, and now we are bringing back this concept, and we are thinking those concepts are now à la mode. Those are not new. And the reason why it's important that we know what Africa has to contribute is because Africa has been very much the silent elder of the human community. There are many more examples that I can give you about such things. For instance, do I have mathematicians here? Any mathematician? Okay. If you know, you work on fractal mathematics, Many people are still not very familiar with fractal mathematics. But if you have an interest in knowing a little more about fractal and how fractal mathematics works, because it seems like it's going to be the way we're going to have to develop all our societies and everything that we do in order to guarantee sustainability for the future. Well, guess who's mastering fractal mathematics for thousands of years? Africa. Africa has integrated the concept of fractal mathematics in everything and every aspect of life, including the organization of villages, the organization of power, the organization of even agriculture. Everything is organized based on fractal mathematic models. So we have, yes, indeed, mathematicians, like, people coming from Harvard or MIT, going now to Africa to study fractal mathematics in Africa. How interesting. You would think, oh, wow, no, it's impossible. But, well, just another reminder about mathematics. If anyone cares to know, in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, in Ishango, they found a bone. They call the bone of Ishango. The bone of Ishango is 25,000 years old. And researchers in mathematics tried to figure this out, and they were, what is it? It took them several years to figure out what was the bone of Ishango. And of course, the bone of Ishango was a mathematical tool to calculate different operations, including they had also integrated the concept of prime numbers. So it can help do all kinds of arithmetic, mathematical operations. But the funny thing about that is that when they tried to figure out why were people in the Congo 25,000 years ago using mathematics in that way, they ended up to the conclusion that it was a toy for children. So if children are playing with mathematics 25,000 years ago in Africa, what are the adults doing? Very interesting. So it's important that I give you back something that belongs to you. The history of Africa is your history, is the history of humanity. And as we are confronted with a lot of problems in the society or the civilization we have developed, for which I believe we have pretty much come to a pinnacle. Because how much more can we go when we have invented weapons that can explode the planet 60,000 times? I think we pretty much reached the top of civilization when we can blow up the planet 60,000 times. How more wealthier can we get? We have people that have billions and billions of dollars. How more wealthier can we get? We already have all these gadgets in our pockets that are so amazing, except that they don't massage your feet yet and don't paint your nails. That would be the next advance, I guess, in civilization as far as technology. But we really don't see anything extra. But now the blockchain community is now tapping into something absolutely amazing. As we are moving towards a society that really is a global perspective, societies that are global perspective, I am here to tell you, do not discount Africa. For too long, Africa has been put aside as the poor parent of humanity, which in reality is the opposite. It's really the elder of humanity. I can also give you another example. The French brag a lot about the human rights. La Charte des droits de l'homme. From France? Really? Let's check the Mandé Charta in the 11th century in the Kingdom of Malay. And you will see that there is already a charter of human rights. That is pretty much the same as the French have now. So, because just like you, I went to the same kind of education system, I went to the same propaganda machine where we kind of look at Africa as the dark continent, and we have this fantasy image about what's going on there. We think that there is nothing there, that they cannot teach us anything. And I am guaranteeing you that you have to concern yourself more and more with Africa, because I believe that in the next leap of our civilization, Africa will be a vector of great accomplishment for us all. Even when you talk about blockchain, we are already using blockchain in Africa. Not in the traditional sense, that still goes on, because every one of your business is everybody's business. So I guarantee you that whatever I do, everybody knows. So nobody can tell them, oh, no, the queen wasn't there. No, 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 no. Everybody knows where I was because the information just explode. As soon as one person gets the information, everybody's updated almost instantly. So you have to go to Africa to see how blockchain really work in practical. However, I'm talking about something like M-Pesa. I don't know if you heard of M-Pesa. Here, M-Pesa, some people are still, we are using Western Union and all kinds of remittance systems that are costing a lot of money, where there are still people that are holding hubs of information where everything has to go through them to be validated, either the bank or Western Union or some organizations like that. But now we have, in Africa, everybody's using Pesa to pay, to receive money, to send money, and everybody is just basically in the loop with Pesa. So I have to go to Africa to learn about how blockchain is already very effective. And the great thing about Africa is because that we lacked of technology, meaning because of our situation, that we were so behind, so-called behind, trying to recover from a lot of many centuries of destruction, because that's really what happened. Trying to recover. I don't like when they say a country in developing country. No, we were fully developed. We're just trying to recover. But when you see that because of that, there are so many technology that are now considered obsolete here, that you now almost have to amortize, or you have to now do a very soft transition into something new. Well, in Africa, we don't have that problem. I can give you an example with the cell phone industry. We had cell phone in Africa before you even had beepers here, because we didn't have effective landlines. So the minute the cell phone showed up, guess what? Everyone wanted a cell phone, because this is really, we were ready for it. Because we didn't have to amortize landline and go to a soft and smooth transition and make sure that, no, we didn't have any of that. So I came to the United States expecting everybody to have a cell phone. Granted, it was quite a big cell phone, about this big, about this size right there. But it was still, mobile telephony. So when I came to America, no one had a cell phone. And the people who were super high-tech had like a device that would vibrate and beep, and then they would have to run to a payphone. And then I was like, what is that? Because we never had that, because we didn't have payphones. So we went straight from almost no landline to cell phones. So this phenomenon is going to happen again with the blockchain. And all the application that you are thinking of today to bring about many changes in society, to bring a more just and equal society, I bet you that you can find a lot of application on the African continent. So I encourage you to go back and try to own a bit more of your own history. As I said, the history of Africa is yours, is the history of humanity. And you have now not only the right, but the obligation to include everyone in the dialogue about what the future will hold for humankind on this planet. Because the days where we thought we were different and separate are no longer. When somebody coughs in America, well, somebody has temperature in Kinshasa. That's how close we are. And with the internet and all the social media, we have recognized now that we are a global family. But in order to have a balanced society, develop a balanced civilization, we have to ensure that everyone is integrated into the construction of the future of humanity, that no one is left behind, that we can go back and see what we have left and bring it back to the forefront. Because our forefathers were there for about, I would say, 400,000 years. 400,000 years, it's a lot of experience. It's a lot of life experience. It's a lot of time to observe reality, to understand different phenomena, and unseen phenomena as well. I know I have a lot of scientists here. Do I have scientists? No scientists? Okay. Well, from what I learned, science is really applicable to only observable phenomenon. Well, except that they told us also that reality is majority unseen and unobservable. So science, as we know it today, has limits. And now we're talking about new science and quantum physics and quantum mathematics. And you know what? I remember those days when I was a child growing up in Kinshasa, where the elder people were telling us that there are different laws that governs reality depending on the size that we are looking at. So that was already quantum physics. They had learned that from their forefathers. They are able to do so many different things, including change, molecules and ubiquity. I learned about ubiquity when I was a child in Congo. The elders were talking about the ability for one person to be at two places at the same time. And yet again, today, it's been proven that a molecule or a particle of light has been observed to be in two places at the same time in laboratories. So do not disregard what your culture or education has taught you when it comes to the old continent, the mother of all of us. She's an old lady. She's a wise lady. She's a loving and caring lady. And she's our mother of all of us. So please, as I'm going to leave you today, I really want to encourage you. You are, how can I say, the brainiacs? You are the brainiacs. Don't let that resource escape your ability to see how we can integrate all kinds of human experiences so we can make a future for ourselves that is much better than what we have accomplished so far. So I thank you so much for having me today, and I welcome you all to come to the Congo, and I can show you some things about cocoa. Cocoa is what you guys call DNA now, but we've been calling cocoa for thousands of years. I have a lot to show you about Africa, and thank you very much for having me. I love you guys.